Hi, everybody. We're going to start here in a second. Let everybody sign in that's here in person, and then we'll get this rolling. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Ruidoso, Tuesday, December 6th. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Briley,
I'm here.
Commissioner Byers,
Here.
Commissioner Richardson,
Here.
Commissioner Rigsby.
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Baugh, Commissioner Michelina, and Commissioner Williams. Also present is Samantha and Stephanie for the Community Development Department, and Zach Cook, Village Attorney. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. This is also where any of the commissioners need to voice their possible declaration of conflict of interest. Is there any? Item 2, Stephanie, will you give us a certification, please?
I do certify that the meeting and properties were posted in accordance with Resolution 2201 and in compliance with Section 5440 of the Municipal Code.
Thank you. Has everybody got a chance to look at the agenda? We're going to have some time today, so if it's looking okay, I need a motion to approve.
Chairman Briley.
Ma'am.
Commissioner Williams just jumped on.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams, can I have you present for your roll call, please?
Doesn't look like her mic's off. I don't know. Vicky, can you hear us?
I can now.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very
Can
good.
you hear me?
Yeah, can you confirm that you're here? Say aye.
I
Thank you.
present.
All right. So, did we get approval of agenda?
No.
How dare you? Can I have an approval of the agenda, please?
I move we approve the December 6th, 2022 agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm just going to ask for, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Hearing none. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of November 1st, 2022. Did everybody get a chance to look at these?
yes.
Do we have any comments? Any concerns? Any motions?
I move to approve the minutes for November 1st, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Briley,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
I
Motion carries.
Thank you. So public input. This is a portion of our agenda where we ask any of the public that wishes to speak on any item that is not on the agenda, anything that the commission needs to know about in your world. Is there any public input? Seeing none, hearing none. We're going to go to the regular items. New business, extension request for case CU 21-0203. Samantha, please.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission. Our partner with Mesa Apartments to develop the apartment units at 1108 Meacham Drive, just north of P&M, has requested an additional 2 years to obtain building permits, and that is because this last January, we were not successful in receiving the 9% tax credit approval from the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. We are putting in another application this January, and we'll be notified by March if that is successful or not. But the development depends on receiving these tax credit applications right now. As you all know, with inflation, as it's been increasing exponentially, development costs are extremely high right now, and so we need these tax credit applications in order to make this project feasible. So with that, we would like to just go ahead and set out the date 24 months as opposed to the 12 months, just to give us a little bit of time. There are a lot of moving parts, as you can imagine, and we don't want to overlook something as coming to P&Z for an extension of time to get building permits. So that's the reason that we are bringing this before you all. You all gave them 12 months, and this is the 12th month.
So you are asking for an additional 12 months, not additional
No, we're seeking 24 months.
24 additional from December of 21?
Yes. No, from right now, December of 2022.
Okay. Commissioners,
Just so that we're all on the same page, 2024 would be the end of the next extension, is
Yes.
what you're requesting for. Okay.
And just to be clear, building permits will have to come through the state of New Mexico. Since it's village-owned property, we're not allowed to permit it here internally.
any more questions? This is not a public hearing, so I don't need to open it up for any discussion, correct?
Correct.
What's the will of the commission?
Chairman, based upon the foregoing findings of the fact that 5467 Village Code, I move to grant the requested extension for development of the site plan for KCU 2021-232 with the conditions stating in the case report.
Second.
And the conditions are for an additional 24 months from today. Very good. Any other comments, questions? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good. Second on the agenda is our public hearings. 7A is case 2022-472, requesting to modify business hours. That's for the Alsops. If you all remember our discussion, we had a very long, lengthy discussion about the time, about the lights, you name it. We had a good discussion. They're coming in wanting some additional hours. Sam?
Thank you, Chairman, members of the commission. We do have with us representatives from Yesway. They'd like to modify their business hours to operate between the hours of 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Right now, our ordinance states they can only be operational 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we ask them to please come before you all to amend this. And it's 5 a.m., 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. right now.
Correct.
They want to go 5 to 11.
So
So if you all
becau-
want to sit at the main table and explain.
Gentlemen, come on. Samantha, so just a quick question. Because it states what the hours are, would a change of that be a variance instead of just a motion?
We made them submit a new application, and it's specific to the hours of operation. So
So
that's
this
the
is a
only
br-
thing we're looking at,
So this is an all-new conditional use for that
just the
property.
hours, though.
Understood. Hello again.
Hello.
So I know we talked about this when you came through the first time. I guess I'm wondering why we didn't really talk too much about these extended hours in depth at that time. So explain what your thoughts are.
To be honest with you, at the time that we were seeking the permit, I really didn't analyze and think about the hours. The hours of 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. would be, I think, more beneficial to our customer base and the people we're trying to serve. We're not asking to be 24 hours, which is generally how we operate. We're just asking, 7 a.m. is a little bit late in the morning for people going to work and school. So we're just asking for consideration of that.
Very good. Commissioners, question? So, Sam, as part of our conditional use, we also had lighting requirements at a certain time. So if we grant the additional time at night or morning, that would have to also be part of the consideration?
Yes, their engineer had designed the lights in a manner that they wouldn't be impacting the residential neighborhood behind them. And so they took that into consideration as they did their site plan, and we did do that review. Remember, it was a separate case for site plan, so that was addressed already. And just to clarify, my staff called the surrounding commercial businesses, and we have presented that in your case study, but we reached out to Club Gas, and their operational hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the lounge is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. that's associated with Club Gas. The bowling alley is 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Farley's is 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Just to keep in mind that the bowling alley and Farley's are not restricted like the automobile service stations are. They could remain operational longer as a permissive use.
Commissioners, questions, comments?
So you say Club Gas is 6 to 10?
Yes, and then their lounge is 2 to 10.
Okay.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes, ma'am.
I wonder if the reason that those businesses close down at 10 o'clock at night is not because they are in a residential area and there really is very little traffic after that hour?
I'd be wrong to comment on that. I really don't know if that is the case or not. Anything else, commissioners?
Just to clarify, the restricted hours at this point are because of the classification of auto service station.
That's correct. If this was just a retail store, they wouldn't have a limitation on their hours of operation.
So
And
when it
it's-
was Pizza Hut before, at that location, they could stay open till midnight or whatever else.
Yes, it's just because of our code and they're lumping gas stations with automobile service stations because of the noise that comes from mechanic work that used to happen at gas stations.
Yeah. So it sounds like our code is outdated. I see our attorney shaking his head.
Anything else, Bart?
No.
Any comments? Oh, go ahead. Okay, I can have a public hearing, then we can have questions afterwards as well. Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I am going to open up the hearing for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience or online that wishes to speak for or against this item? I don't see a lot of hands being raised. I don't see anybody online. Second chance. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. So, go ahead. You had a question. I lost my train of thought.
This is for the applicant, I suppose. The hours that you requested,
Our commissioners? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And your name again for the record?
Brian Ashburn.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Ashburn, did you do an analysis on these hours, 5 a.m. to 11? It seems like 6 to 10 is consistent with what's going on around the surrounding area. Is there a need between 5 and 6? Do you know the number of people that are coming through there?
I don't know for that site, obviously, because it's not open, but I know in general for our business that that's some of our busiest times, depending on where you are. I don't have a statistic to give you exactly, but generally speaking, that's a very busy time.
Okay. Is there a follow-up question with that? As you stated, the property's not open now.
Right.
Is there a reason that you're applying now rather than later for this conditional use?
Just wanted to start out with those hours if possible.
Okay, thank you.
No other reason.
So, future, are we going to come back and go 24 hours someday?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're under oath.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Sure. Since COVID hit 2 years ago, it's been very hard to be 24 hours anyway, so.
Understood. Commissioners, questions, answers? Okay. Motions. Anybody wants to make a motion for this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
a question.
Go ahead.
For the applicant. If we update, I know the application states from 5 to 11, consistent with other businesses similar in the area, it's 6 to 10 is those operating hours. Would you be amenable to a 6 to 10 conditional use?
Well, certainly, because we obviously agreed to 7 to 10
Right.
to operate, but yes, obviously, we're going to operate the store and would appreciate any consideration, but understand.
Yep, thank you.
Commissioners, do I hear a motion? Do I hear any comments? Vicky sure is quiet up there. All right, we're not leaving until we have a motion for or against this.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes.
My comment on this particular application would be that being consistent throughout that area, I think, is a priority that the board should consider. So if I were to vote on a motion, I would prefer to see it consistent hours for others, businesses that are operating in that area, since this is a conditional use. That would be my 2 cents.
You want to change your 2 cents into a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Based on the foregoing findings of fact per 54-68 and 54-100 of Village Code, I move to grant the requested conditional use for approval for case CU 2022-472 with the conditions stated in the case report, with the amendment to those conditions that the operation shall not take place between the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
And that is condition number 5.
Condition number 5 would be the one that I changed.
So you had a motion and a second. Anybody want to?
Second that.
Okay, we have a second. Do we want to discuss the motion? Okay, let's have a vote.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries with the modification to amend number 5 to be unoperational from the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Very good. All right, next on the agenda is a petition for annexation into the Village of Ruidoso municipal boundaries. Samantha, once upon a time, this was a quite lengthy procedure. Can you give an update of what's going on with this, please?
Yes, so we have a petition for annexation from the property owner to bring in a contiguous lot that they own. One lot is in the county, and then the other is within our municipal boundary. Should you all make a recommendation to the village council, we'll take that in January for a quasi judicial public hearing before them to see if they want to amend the current zoning map to include this parcel of land. It's just over 4.6 acres that they'd like to annex in and then also replat if the annexation is approved. There is a structure on one of the lots, the other would be vacant, so we wouldn't really be adding, it wouldn't impact the village utility-wise or anything. And it's a really minor piece of land that we would be.
So I'm looking at the plat. Which lot is in the city?
So if you're on page 2 of their case study, the hash marks, that's within our boundary. The green lot is county.
Okay. So it's the green piece that's being annexed in?
Yes, and that's
Got
the
it.
one that's like
Okay.
4.665, I think.
Sure, it'd be nice to be able to read plats. All right, sir, I assume you're the applicant?
No, sir. I'm Nathan Fox with Harcrow Surveying here in Ruidoso. I represent
Okay.
the Snyders in this
Okay.
case to talk on their behalf.
Okay. We'll swear you in just a second. Any other comments that we all have for, before we go into questions by the applicant?
No, as y'all can see from your case study, we presented this to development review internally for input from Public Works, Streets, all of the other departments. And there wasn't any hesitation from them or negative comments as far as incorporating this small section of land.
Samantha, I did see one of the comments, it talked about if it's subdivided in the future. So there's assumptions, I guess, by staff that there's going to be 4 lots right here instead of the 1 or whatever, correct?
Yes, there was fears of like maybe a minor subdivision being developed or whatnot, but that land isn't suitable for something like that, I don't believe. However, they do have the right once a year to subdivide one time, so if that is their wish in the future, as long as they're meeting the minimum 75 by 100 feet for an R1 lot, then they would be able to do that.
So would, if the council chooses to annex this in, would this come back to us for zoning, the appropriate zoning, or is this going to be part of the zoning hearing as well to zone this property?
It'll just take the R1 zoning that's currently existing for this lot.
For the existing lot?
Mr. Chairman, sorry. Point of clarification, it would be an R1 zoning because based off of the map on page 3, it looks like it would be an M1 zoning. Unless I'm mistaken.
It would follow the requested R1 zone.
It would follow the, okay. So what am I missing here?
On page 3 of 9, if you see that rectangular
Okay.
yellow lot,
I
that's
see.
the lot we're speaking
Not
of.
this to there.
And then the lot just north of it.
Yep, thank you.
Question. If it were to be subdivided even once a year or whatever over the course of time, each time if there's another additional residence that's built, is the village then required to provide water and other utilities?
Yes, but there is a process for them to follow. They have to apply and pay all of the fees for that. And so they would be able to, since the utilities are available there. But they need to make sure that they maintain the 75 by 100 minimum lot size. So eventually they'll be stopped.
And annexation requires an ordinance, correct? Does it require?
We will be amending.
The, what was it called? Annexation Commission or something like that once upon a time that we had to go through?
No, but we'll amend it by ordinance in January if you all have that recommendation.
All right. So it also used to be that they had to bring water rights or money for water rights, money for parks, all that kind of stuff. And that's all in the applicable fees that you're given to the applicant? Or is that not anymore?
It's not anymore.
Just to let everybody know, I did this about 20 years ago, so I was just kind of wondering what rules have changed, so, sorry.
The deviation for this one is because it's only the one lot. It's not a sequential area that is anticipated in the previous cases we've heard.
So, you want to swear to tell truth and the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell us what you know about this and enlighten us to more of what's happening.
Yes, sir. So the Snyders hired us, Harcrow Surveying, to do a boundary survey of their property at 126 North Candlewood, which includes county property as well as city property. And really, the whole basis for what the Snyders are trying to do is it's really just an inheritance before they pass away to their son. And so in their mind, they're jumping through the hoops to annex the property into the village limits just to lessen any hassle for their son or their grandchildren. They don't express any interest in further subdividing of the property at all. Actually, when this whole process began, we were going to subdivide the property or create a division line different on the property than what's proposed now. It doesn't have that much bearing. The reason that we're dividing it the way we are is no matter what, there's an annexation line or a division line of the property. And so it would limit the property's use to have a division line that would limit building a house on the property. And that's not imminent either. Have not been hired to do a site plan for a home. This is just, like I said, I mean, it's really just.
Well, the
They're
annex.
dividing the property to give their son his inheritance of half of their property. It may never develop again, but they haven't expressed any desire to develop it further, and there's no development plans at this time other than the division of the property.
So the division goes north-south, but the village limits goes east-west, so there's,
Yes, sir.
so we're erasing that city limit line and putting it up to the north, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's the new city limit line, okay.
So the south half of this property
Already
is
is,
currently in
correct.
the village limits. The north, it's not quite half, but the north portion of that property is in the county.
Okay, I understand it. Questions from the commissioners?
Chairman Briley?
Yes, ma'am.
What we are voting on now is merely the annexation, not any replat line. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Commissioner Williams. And realistically, this is a recommendation to the council anyway.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Hearing no questions, I guess I'll open up the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak for or against this annexation item we have before us? Seeing no hands here, what about online? I don't see hands online. Anybody? Second try. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your questions? What's your answers? What's your wishes? Page 9.
I see on this impact checklist, one of the first things that brings into question some of the drainage issues. I mean, it's not going to change anything that's happening already. Is that really an issue for us?
At this time, no, it's not an issue, and if they did go to develop that land, then we would catch that during building permits, that they need to make sure they're not impacting anyone downstream. So it's just a comment that they wanted to bring to light, but right now, no, it's not an issue.
So 2 comments, but the library too. Any more questions from the commissioners? And Sam, this is we're recommending to the council, correct? All right,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Based on the foregoing findings of fact per 54-70 of Village Code, I move to recommend approval of this petitioned annexation for case number annexation P2022-479 to the Village Council for adoption.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Briley,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, carry on. So what's their next step? Is they file the plat with the county or after the council acts? So you've got 4 or 5 more steps to go, correct?
Yes, so I have a request into the Village Council for this December meeting next Tuesday to schedule a public hearing for January. It'll be the second Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and that'll be in January, and they'll approve or deny, and if they do approve, it'll amend the zoning map by ordinance, and then your plat on the face of it, it'll just have to say annexation and all of that, and we'll get it filed with the county clerk.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is CU 2022-480, request operator food truck. Samantha.
Thank you. Chairman, members of the commission, with us today is the applicant Ryan Munoz. He'd like to operate a mobile vending unit, specifically a food truck at Backcountry Attitudes, located at 1203 Sudworth Drive. This is Mr. Munoz. He can answer any questions on behalf of the applicant, and I'll stand for any questions you all may have later.
Afternoon, Chairman.
Second. So I'm trying to see, what business is there right now?
Backcountry Attitude, sir.
Backcountry.
Where they rent those side-by-sides.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Yeah. Thanks. We're going old. So tell us what you want to do. I need to swear you in, though. You swear to tell the truth, but nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And state your name for the record, please.
Ryan Munoz.
Mr. Munoz, tell us what your plan is and obviously the permission from the property owners and all that kind of stuff, please.
So I do have permission from the property owner, who is Denise Dean. She does give approval as well as the signature to operate there, as well as the lease owner who is there as well, which is Lance Rowe. This is a mobile vending unit. It will be stationed there, non-movable unless events hosted by Ruidoso Parks and Recs. So primary, that will be its location. This is a different spin on food that is not here in Ruidoso. This is Poke Bowls, which is primarily healthy. My goal behind things is there's nothing healthy here besides Subway. So this gives everybody from all age limits of healthy kicks to gym membership, people that like to eat healthy. If you're up in age and you can't handle those greasy foods, we're going to offer something that's different, that's going to allow you to enjoy that.
Samantha, remind the commission about our processes on food trucks and the relationship the food truck has with the business owner or leasee and what kind of problems we have. I'm thinking, water and sewer and parking and trash and you name it. I have all those questions in my mind. Can you expand on any of that, or you want Mr. Munoz
Yes.
to?
So we do require that they go on a lot that's at least 12,000 square feet minimum, which he checks that box. They can only be operational while the existing business is operational. If it's outside of there, then generally we request the hours that would be outside of that, or do it by a special event permit. We do require that they are self-containing, and that they have a disposal plan in which he has a contract with a company to dispose of his grease. And in his case, it's not necessarily grease, but wastewater. And he would just be piggybacking off of the solid waste dumpsters that are available to Backcountry Attitude. And if they were exceeding that, then they would have to pay for an additional dumpster. But those are all the requirements that we do have for him. He'll have to get a business registration, which I believe he has already obtained because he wants to work special events as well.
I heard him say Parks and Rec, so I'm assuming he's working with them for special events with Parks and Rec. The analysis highlights automobile service stations. Is this just the wrong
No,
thing or why
Unfortunately.
are we calling him an automobile service station?
because food that is served in this manner, according to our code, is looped back to automobile service stations, unfortunately.
And that's where
No.
Zach say our code's not right. Okay. Questions, commissioners, sir? Oh, I saw your button.
To clarify, every food truck in the village goes through automobile service stations for their permitting.
That's correct, but we only have a handful, like Sacred Grounds has a conditional use for a food truck. Who was the other?
Venture Mountain.
Oh, Adventure Mountain.
We voted one down at the Midtown.
That was because their lot was not 12,000 square feet.
Another point of clarification on that, how does it, the lot's 12,000 square feet, but does it take into account building size?
The code does not.
Okay.
So the owners obviously are acceptable to this, and they understand that it's possible that it could actually take away from parking and business and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
And add to it as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, I will, public hearing? More?
Sorry, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman. So to clarify, poke, there's typically nothing that's cooked or fried. It's usually raw, right?
Correct.
And so the disposal of waste, to Sam's point, will primarily just be wastewater and trash?
So
solid
there
food?
are, I mean, you have your steak and your chicken, which does create a grease. We do have a grease trap that has been inspected by the sewer department. We do have the runoff that does go through the black and gray water, which we have a contract through Sierra Blanca Septic Service, as well as a conditional use for the Downs Septic Service.
Okay.
And Health Department regulations, obviously that has to be part of this, correct?
Has been approved and signed, sir.
Yes, his truck is operational. It's just,
It is.
they used to be placed at 1203 Sudworth Drive. So the Environment Department and the business registration and the sign off from the village, he's already obtained all of that to operate the truck itself.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah. Is there, Sam, this is for you, is there parking requirements for conditional use on a property like this? How does that overlap with backcountry to?
The code doesn't specify how many parking spaces are needed for a mobile vending unit, but we do feel that he has ample space for parking and wouldn't be negatively impacting Backcountry Attitudes. and their operations. We think that it would actually add to the economic vitality of that area of Sedgwick.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions to the applicant? Hearing none, I'm going to open the public hearing for anybody that wishes to speak for or against this item we have on the agenda. Do I hear anybody? Yes, sir, come on down, and I need you to swear in and swear at and all that kind of stuff. State your name, please.
John Hall,
John,
I do swear,
to tell the truth, nothing but truth.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Tell us what your
First of all,
things.
I own the business, I'm sorry, not the business, I own the building right beside Adventure. And I have no problem with food truck at all, put that out there. But the parking is an issue. Okay, right where he's wanting to, or they're wanting to put this food truck, first of all, doesn't belong to anybody. So Ms. Dean can't say that belongs to her. I can't say it belongs to me. When we had that all surveyed, there's a little section right there by that wall, it's called no man's land. It doesn't belong to anybody. But we used it for parking. The other, when it was remember they put a food place in there before, it was solid and something. And they needed more parking, so we put that wall up and had a thing where they could park right there. We all work together on the parking, how Rado says it is. You know, everybody needs room for parking. I don't have a problem. Every now and then, each of us will have a problem where the business that's there now, which is a day spa salon, some other people will park in their areas and some other people will park in our areas. And they, we talk, no issues, but where this little, where his little thing will be, if people pull up there to park, we will not be able to get into our parking areas. If they park, pull up there to try to park, because we have a little area in front of the building, which we paved, and then we have parking around the back of the building, and we purchased that property for parking. So, it can, and with it being right there, could cause some parking issues. If they wanted to pull the thing on the other side of the building, might not, I don't know. I just know that, whenever they have all their ATVs out and all that kind of stuff, it takes up their parking. So when they leave, someone comes and rents an ATV, well then of course the person that's renting that ATV, their truck or whatever, well, lots of times go right there. Sometimes they'll pull over and ours will have to go say something, but I just don't want to have issues where I'm having to go constantly fighting parking stuff. That's my only main concern, parking.
So,
And of course, my daughter, which actually runs the business, it's her business, so we just rent it to her.
right.
She might have a question or two on that.
Come on down. Identify yourself and be sworn at.
Hi, I'm Lexi Urban.
You swear to tell the truth, not the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
So the parking's been an issue just because we do have 3 spots just right in the front. If you put a food truck right there and they have all their ATVs in the front, they have about 3 ATVs parked right there at the moment. Their employees have no parking. So in the past, they've asked for my back parking to put their employees. We did allow that for a little bit, but then it was kind of like where they took over my back parking and my 3 spots in the front to where I had no parking. We ended up fencing in the whole back so that I would have that parking and bought that, land. I don't mind the food truck at all either. The only problem is there, if you go there and you drive by, there's no parking whenever it comes down to summertime. Whenever he's gonna bring a lot of business, which is great, but there will be no parking. Because if you take up that little space right there, the people will pull right in front of him, which causes no one to be able to back out of mine. Does that make sense? Because
Yes.
it's kind of a L shape.
It makes sense. So I'm going to ask a question of you. So with the fenced-off area, do you have access off of Laurel?
Yes.
So you still have some
I have
sort of
parking
access
in
to
the
get over
back.
there?
Yes.
Okay, and that's how they get there. Then the 3 up front,
Yes.
you're concerned about the backing motions and parking and all that kind of
It's
stuff.
only the front, yes. The back's totally fine.
Okay.
Because there's a fence right there.
Yes, I can, you can see it in the picture. It's faint.
Yes.
He's gonna move them in the back. We've already discussed that.
So did you want to address the applicant so he can say something on the record?
Do I want to what?
You two are talking. Do you want to say something for the record?
So, for the record, I was just discussing with her the two ATVs that are on the corner lot right there, as well as the trailer that she was talking about that takes up the space. Those are already gonna be moved out and put in the back, where I'm gonna take up a quarter of that spot, where it's not gonna stick out so wide. So that will potentially open up at least one spot for her.
I don't
And then-
need
and
the
then as
parking
far
where
as
your
the- As
thing
far
is
as they're
to
gonna
be.
come up, I mean, if we can put signs to park on the south side of the building, primarily just for that purpose, as far as them getting food, so they don't park directly in front.
You don't want them parking in front of your thing?
Well, I mean, definitely not, if it's gonna.
You're saying to park
so-
on this side along
Yeah,
the
so if
road?
they have to walk just to grab the food, I mean, they have to walk
That's
to grab
fine.
the food, I mean.
The only thing that's hard that I see is you can't, what I've had in the past with other, we've had Salad Palette, I've been there for 18 years. The problem is they pull in and they're gonna pull in straight. And you see my building's like an L shape. So people come in and then, they pull in like straight right in front of my window. And then they're going to go this way where it's gonna be parking like this. And my parking's like this.
Right.
And so whenever they try to pull in, it's gonna be like a cluster of trying to maneuver to pull into mine and then to back out with, cause if you put I don't know how big your thing is, but if you put that and then you put a car width going straight,
Well, this is primary, this is not gonna move whatsoever.
that won't move.
It will not move, so there's not gonna be any time that I'm pulling it in and out, unless it's for event, but
Right,
that
right,
would
right.
be.
No, I'm saying like a car though pulling right in front. See, right where you have that,
Right. You have a spot right there that's open.
you would have like one car, right? That would be like one width of a car.
Excuse me,
You're going sideways.
but
So
I-
exactly how this.
you're all on the record on part of the public hearing. And so if there's discussion between you two, please ask the question and have a response back from the applicant, please.
He's gonna be his guys will have to be parking like north and south,
Correct.
where your parkers are east and west. Just as long as this right here doesn't get blocked and they can go in.
That won't be an issue.
It won't be, as long as it won't be an issue.
Won't be an issue.
That's the only thing. We're not worried about, their people aren't supposed to park over here anyway. They're supposed to park here and back here, so.
Supposed to be. And you know how we all like parking.
Come up here, or they need to go over there. That's where the issue.
Is there a possibility that you could put it right here? Because I do know like all the ATVs take up their parking, so the
I
parking,
can't tell
like,
you yes and no, because originally when I talked to Lance, the idea was to move them here anyways. Or to have them staged in the back, ready to go.
where are they gonna put, like, people that work there?
I mean, it's a big lot. I mean, they still have, there's an empty lot there, there's parking in the back still. I mean, I can't answer the question specifically pertaining to them because I don't work for them.
Right.
So I can't,
So-
I can't
so-
give you an indefinite answer to that.
And we can take that into consideration that it is or isn't a problem. So, thank you. And maybe after we deal with all this, we can have you guys sidebar and figure out how things are going to work. Is there anybody who wishes to speak for or against this, please? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And so I do have the same questions about parking, and I understand, but I have two surveyors in the audience. I want to hear about this no man's land. I know that in Midtown, there's that 40 or 50-foot stretch that's depending which way you go, there's the no man's land. Is this kind of the same thing over here by this place? Wyatt? I don't know where you're talking about. All right.
Who's paying taxes on that?
Right. Well, see, what we have is we don't have a plat. We don't have a plot. We can't really identify, and if there is, in fact, according to the public hearing, they stated there's no man's land, can we approve something on no man's land? And that's what I am kind of wondering myself. If there is a question, can we, in fact, say yes or no? Sam, I guess I'm asking you, is this something that we can even act on if there's been a testimony that this is no man's land by survey?
Well, we haven't received any facts that this is no man's land. The map that you all have been provided is from the county assessor's office that indicates that the property owner at 1203 is paying property taxes on this portion where the food truck would be placed. It's not regular practice that we pull plats for our hearings.
Right.
So if you all would like to
This map is
postpone-
from the county. This is not your zoning map.
Correct. It is our zoning map, but we use theirs as our base map and we overlay our zoning layers. So if you all would like to postpone this until we have time to do title research on this, we can do that. But it is my understanding that that portion where the truck is placed belongs to 1203.
According to the county map and the zoning map, it looks as though it is. So I just heard testimony saying it is no man's land, so I had to ask the question. Commissioners, questions, comments? What's your pleasure? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, a question about the parking. Is there street parking off of 1203 Sutterth? I can't tell in front of the sign.
On-street parking?
Yeah,
No,
there's no on-street parking at all right there?
it's all off-street.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know what he's saying. Is the shoulder wide enough to park anyway? To pull up and get a pokey. Somebody's sitting on the side of the road in the shoulder. I know.
Kind
what
of
you're asking.
subjective because a lot of people do that at Cafe Rio or things like that. So it just,
So I'm saying there is, but it's not legal.
they shouldn't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Especially because that's a thoroughfare and a corner. So you'd be potentially having accidents allowing off, or on-street parking.
Fair enough. Mr. Chairman, another question. Yes. Did you, when you were selecting your location for your truck, just two clarifying questions. Is it going to be permanently placed there or will it move?
As far as a timeline-wise meeting,
I know you mentioned for special events. So are you moving it once a month or is it there?
permanently, yes, it will be there.
Okay, so it's
Unless
going to
those
store
are-
there?
Correct.
And then if the village or whoever has something at the park, you might take it down there to serve the bowls. Second question, working with Backcountry Attitudes, have you outlined, marked, have you done any research on parking spots and how your truck might impact?
Correct. So
In that lot.
currently where he sits right now, he has a trailer and two rigs that are currently sitting there. He's going to be moving those to his back lot, which he has there, and I'm just going to be filling that space because it fits exactly right there.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair.
Basically, we're just swapping.
Yeah, so the final question then is, the rig will be in the back of the property.
Correct.
It'll be off-street.
Correct.
And so, in theory, there wouldn't be any net loss or gain of parking with your shop there, if you will. Because there's already a rig there.
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
I think the concern that was stated is having people pull directly up in front of your truck, and it sounded like you were amenable to putting a sign like park this way or park over there.
Correct.
Because I think that that's the primary concern, is that if your rig is there and you have cars parked perpendicularly to it, it might block the spa.
Correct.
And I'm seeing a head shake in the back. Okay. So that could be addressed with signage or just asking people to move their car. Correct. Okay. How will you get your rig out of that spot?
It's simple. It's just backing it up in there, pulling it out.
Yeah, I guess
As far, like, if I know we're gonna have to pull it out at some point, I would do it after hours when there is nobody there, where it's not inconvenience to their property or their business as well as backcountry attitudes.
Okay.
So it's fifth wheel or a trailer?
The trailer, sir.
So my next question is, I guess, business plan. You want to open as soon as possible? Are you waiting for the spring? You waiting for summer? What is your business plan for
As
this?
soon as possible.
Okay. So again, we have the same hours that we talked about on the previous gas station, right? Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, sorry to clarify,
No,
you
you're fine.
recognize the limitations in that?
Correct.
Inherently
In order-
7 to 10?
In order to get an extension, I'd have to file for a re-one, right?
Yeah, if you want to, I don't want to speak
Address
out of
that
turn.
now, or?
I'll let them address
If
it.
you want to operate outside of the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., then you should ask now.
Oh, never mind. 7 to 10 works perfectly.
Commissioners, what's your thoughts? What's your pleasure? What's your questions? What's your answers? So, okay, I'm going to just keep asking questions. So, Mr. Hall, you talked about no man's land. I'm very concerned about this no man's land. Have two surveyors who are just doing this. So I'm really curious about how you think there's a no man's land right there, even though the tax records show where the lines are. Oh, can you come on up and get closer to the microphone here?
When we purchased those back lots, believe it or not, that little bitty piece of property, that's like 3 lots right there back in the day. I guess they were real little. So anyway, there's a block wall like right where he's wanting to put the trailer. So I thought property line went just like that back. And when we put the stakes out and all that kind of stuff, well, it didn't. There was a spot probably about the width of his trailer or whatever that they're looking at. It's not very wide. That, stake went here, stake went then like this. And I said, well, who? I was asking, I think that was D.T. Collins back then. And I asked her who belongs to this piece of property. And because I know that Ms. Dean thought it was theirs, I thought it was theirs too. He said, well, actually, it doesn't belong to anybody. But they call it no man's land. I said, oh, well, can I see about purchasing it or whatever? And he said, oh, I don't know how you do that, but maybe. But anyway, I couldn't ever figure out, no one could ever tell me. So I never messed with it anymore. All I did was keep it weed eated and all that kind of stuff. I'm glad he's gonna park his trailer there. so I
Can
don't
you
have to
come and
sewer it.
show me on this plat where, so this is your property here. So is it along this way or along this way?
You know where he's wanting to put the little
Yeah.
trailer?
So
It
it's
is like,
right in here.
is that where he's wanting to put the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, right here, see where this, because that's, it's hard for me to tell where that,
The line is.
but right here, right where that where
Right.
that trailer is, just from this little wall here, coming out so
Okay,
far.
so it's just a little chunk like that.
No, sir, it's like
Okay, got it.
right here.
Okay.
So I consider, that's what they
So-
told me.
Okay.
But I mean, it doesn't,
No,
It's a
without
little-
surveys, yeah.
Your property line on this goes like this?
yes, sir. Yeah, exactly.
Can you put up a pipe fence and,
Well, no, because this is where they come up off of Sutter and turn in.
but I'm just saying.
We do have like a little fence here.
Yeah, that would keep them
Well, then, they wouldn't be able to park, yeah.
So you're saying that you have to back over into their,
Right, that's why I drew in the three
Okay.
spaces that they have here. I know what they're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Again, no man's lands confuse me and concern me,
I
so,
don't know, that's just what he said at that particular time, so that's why I called it.
got it. Thank you. Commissioners, thoughts, questions, answers?
Mr. Chairman, another question.
Yes.
If you moved the trailer to the other side, would that negatively impact your business? Is there a particular reason why you chose that location?
Just particularly it faces the main road. It was the most convenient to kind of just sit back in the corner where it wouldn't impact his parking as much, and it still only took up the exact same as his current two rigs are there.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, another question. If you moved the trailer back on the property line along the building, is that even possible? I can't tell from the street.
Are you talking about where it's at right now? Just scoot it back more?
Yeah, so it looks like it's at the front half of backcountry. If you move it to the middle half of that, would that be possible?
May I approach you so I can see what you're exactly?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have reached out to the county clerk's office, and they're doing some research to try to get us a plat here shortly. So if you guys want to pause this and go to the next agenda and come back, maybe we'll have something, but,
Okay,
because this is new news to me, I'm sorry, I apologize. If I would have known, I would have brought
Okay, perfect.
the recorded plat.
okay. So what Samantha says, is she's trying to get I guess,
The recorded plat.
a plat
Okay.
back real quick while we're still discussing. So if it's okay with everybody else, we can put this at the last of the agenda, move our discussion, move our everything, and then consider our last item, and then maybe by the time we're done with that item, Sam will have some information about that. So, Robert's rules, how do we just,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a move to table this discussion till the end of the meeting.
good,
I don't know if that works.
that's a
but-
good way to do it.
Second. Second.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. We're going to table it till the end of the meeting. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more information of what the chairman brought up of boogie boos. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we're going to move this on. Oh, hold on, Mr., and we'll get back with you here in a little bit. All right,
Thank you.
so anybody need a break, or we good?
Now let's finish.
Okay, we're going to go. Next item is a PVC 2022-484 variance on, oh no, it's a vacation of property on Paradise Canyon. Sam, can you give us an update on this, please?
Thank you. We have the owner of, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the physical address here.
236.
236 Paradise Canyon. It incorporates 4 different lots in Block 4. They have approached the village to see if we were interested on vacating this frontage of Paradise Canyon Road that the home and stairs have encroached into right-of-way. After taking this to development review, several directors and the police chief and the fire chief had requests that we do not vacate this portion, just because they overbuilt or built across their property lines. So there is not support from development review to proceed with this vacation. However, it is the applicant's right to bring this request before you all. So they are seeking recommendation for approval to the governing body to vacate this portion of the land. The way that the surveyor has drawn their recommendation now encompasses the entire width of that lot. The stairs still would be encroaching into Paradise Canyon Drive right-of-way. And you'll see throughout Paradise Canyon that that's an issue.
Okay.
And we do have Wyatt Sparks here with us representing the applicant, and James Russ is also the realtor on the sale of this property, and that's what's triggered the need to clean up the lot lines.
So I understand this condition totally, and it's all over the place. So I guess my question is, what if we don't do anything? Does that mean they'll never be able to sell the property, or do they just sell it with conditions? I know you're not a realtor or an attorney, but what if we just say no?
My understanding, it would have to be a cash sell. They would never be able to get title insurance.
Right. Okay. All right.
Huh.
Yeah. All right, commissioners, questions? Mr. Sparks, you want to come up and sit at the front table and get the harassment from the chairman? Swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
And your name is, sir?
My name is Wyatt Sparks.
Thank you so much. So, did you provide this plat? Is this yours?
Yes,
Okay.
and just a little history on this. They had a pending sale on the property back in June, so they ordered a survey, not from me, but from someone else. And when the survey was done, the encroachment was shown, the building sticking over the line, so the sale fell through.
Right.
And so after that, the owner of the property was trying to look for a remedy to help, so she could sell the property or do something with it. And so they hired me to go out and do another survey and look at the possibilities. I'm a little confused about the response from the road department and from the chief of police, because the area we're asking for is basically only 780 square feet, which just covers the building. And when you go out and look at the property and you see all the stairs and the parking and the driveway and everything, I can see why they can say, oh, no, we don't want to vacate that because it would interfere if we want to enlarge the road or something.
Right.
But the property line is 53 feet from the edge of the pavement. And so if we get a 15-foot to, we're still almost 40 foot from the edge of the road. The other thing about this property, and it's very steep, going up the hill, and they've made a substantial cut to put what's there. So there's no way for them to, get much more property without a tremendous amount of dirt work. The other thing, when we looked at the property, if you talk about expanding the road, and this is another thing, the right-of-way is 100-foot wide there, and so it's very deceptive because everybody sees the pavement, and they think, well, I'm 20 foot from the pavement, so I must be all right. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the roadway, and I've kind of shown it on here, is almost entirely on the south 50 foot of the right-of-way. When I looked at the property, if you go on up the road about 200 feet or so, you have a big rock bluff there. It's going to be hard to ever expand the road that side of the right-of-way. And when you go 200 foot about 200 foot to the south, there's a house there that's 26 feet off of the edge of the pavement. And then another house below that, and I'm talking about 220, address is 220 Paradise and 218. All of that improvements there are in the right-of-way. And I looked to see nothing's ever been done to clear the encroachment problems there or to rearrange the lot line. But the property owner still wants to sell the property. She actually lives in Alabama. She's not local, but she can't, until she finds some remedy for the encroachment, she can't really do much with the property. I also made a suggestion that in lieu of vacating right-of-way and buying right-of-way, if there was an option to get a right to encroach easement on it until such time that the property, the building is torn down, and then that would go away. We visited with lenders in discussion of this, and the lenders say they don't have a problem with an easement to, right to encroach as far as insuring title or lending on it. So I don't know, you know, it's been kind of a tough situation. They have a well there, they have other stuff there. But if we started taking additional to cover all that stuff, then all of a sudden we would be taking a big chunk of right-of-way. And the other aspect of that is, until it's been appraised, we don't even know what we're looking at cost-wise to acquire more right-of-way. So we've tried to minimize the amount of right-of-way that we're looking at, you know, because we have no idea until appraisal comes up and says, you know, what it's worth to see whether they want to pursue purchasing it or not.
So the actual right-of-way line, the right-of-way line is in this picture behind the retaining wall, right? It's behind it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I blew up it,
Right.
blew one
Yeah,
up so you can see a little
I
bit
can see
easier.
it, yeah.
But it's basically this part of the structure sticks out, and that's what's in the right of way. And the little thing here is actually a sidewalk, and there's some stairs here. So, I mean,
Right.
I've come out 15 foot to try to include that, but I mean, the building itself is probably only about 10 foot out in the right of way.
Understood.
So you're not trying to include this parking area that
No, and I can say there's
wall?
a well there, there's a parking area. The drive that's shown up there, they've put concrete on that so that they can get up and down it because it's so steep, you know. And then and you can see where the water meter is, the city water meter is out the front there too. You know, when you go out there and look at it, you know, there's lots of stuff out in the right of way. But that's not unusual because almost you have to, driveways and stuff like that have to go across the right of way to get to the property. And
Sure.
they've developed a little bit more than usual because of the steepness of the hill to get up there.
That parking area actually used to be enclosed.
Did it? I don't know. The only thing, when I look at the history, I pulled out the old city topo map that was done back in like 1986, and it existed then. I have a feeling the house was, I don't know how old the house is, but I mean, we're looking at 36 years.
The house has been there over 60 years.
That it was shown on the, you know, on the aerial map to be where it's at now.
So do you know whether or not this was an addition, this part that's over into it's encroaching now? Or-
Whether it was addition, I don't know. If it was before they needed a building
Right.
survey, you know, to do it, so.
What part of the house is it? I mean, what is this?
The living room.
Is it the living room? Okay.
And it looks like a
Torn down.
patio, too.
Back in.
Looks like an enclosed porch or something, too.
Yeah, front porch and,
Oh, goodness. This
It's-
is interesting.
It's not really, Chairman Briley?
Yes.
Is that front, it's actually a roof over a front deck. It's not enclosed, is it?
No, but on the other side, I guess that would be the north or west side, there is a building there, a living
Right.
room, he says.
Yeah, the part that's encroaching is enclosed. It's part of the structure. Like I say, there's a little 2 or 3 foot walk right in front of it, and then the stairs go down that's shown on that's not enclosed.
my memory tells me it's been there over 40 years.
All right, so questions before we open up public hearing? Interesting.
Chairman Briley?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just to clarify in my mind, when you're talking right of way, is that easement?
Well, not really. Your roadways have a dedicated right-of-way, which belongs to the city. So an easement would be like a utility easement that still belongs to the property owner. So easement is different than right-of-way. So this is a right-of-way, not an easement.
So this isn't the normal 20-foot front easement that we're talking about?
No, the rest of their houses in that 20-foot easement. Yeah, it's in the easement and in the setback, it's a mess.
Yeah.
So, if I remember, I don't know, vacation of right-of-way is more of just a purchase of the right-of-way as long as the city doesn't feel they need it anymore. And the city, sounds like the staff wants to keep it for whatever reason, and that's why you're recommending denial of this. Is this correct? That's correct. All right. If nothing else, let's go ahead and have a public hearing. Have I had a public hearing on this one yet? So we can get any other input that might be available from everybody. So I'm going to open up the public hearing for this case. Public hearing, does anybody wish to speak for or against this case? Yes, come on up and swear to tell the truth.
Whole
Nothing
truth
but
and
the
nothing but the truth.
Perfect. State your name, please.
James Russ.
Thanks, James.
So I just wanted to add to what White has already told you. The house has been there for 60 years, a little over, probably 62 total. The topographical features of the canyon there are just impossible. Even if the utilities were slated to be removed or relocated so the road could be widened, it's fractured granite. It's solid, man. It would take an act of God to try to put utility lines through that ridge there. And as Wyatt also mentioned, if you continue heading north, there's a complete rock ledge wall that you have to skirt to go around. So I just don't see, if we could just get that little portion of house put back in, that would be great. And one other thing just to add to, the house did actually sell again. So there's a young lady that bought it on an owner financing contract because we were under the assumption that we were going to be able to get this done. So all of a sudden that happened 2 weeks ago. So we did lose 2 sales, and the third one we were ready to lose as well because the lender wouldn't finance. So the girl was desperate to get a home, and she worked an arrangement with my sellers, and she's in there now. So whatever we end up doing, it's going to hurt her pretty bad too.
And I don't want to point fingers. How did you figure that it was going to go through?
It was an assumption and desperation. Exactly. I agree with that completely.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else wish to speak for or against this? Anybody online? Seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your choice? What's your wishes? What's your questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Say we do approve this, we vacate the land and they agree to purchase it. The stairs, the driveway, and the parking area are all in violation, so they would need a conditional use, an easement for all of those. They'd have to remove them all. I guess what would be the next steps if this was vacated?
I'm going to ask that of Sam, because I do know that there is encroachment agreements or airspace agreements, whatever you want to call them. So would that be an option for the people to do?
So instead of going through the vacation process, the first request that I presented to the people above me was the encroachment agreement, and that's not something that we're willing to entertain. We want to either get it cleaned up or not, and allow the condition to exist. But if we are going to do a vacation, we would like to see them purchase the entire square feet of what they are encroaching, to include the stairs as well. Not just the livable heated area of the home, like the living room that's in it.
So the village does not have any
Encroachment agreements.
agreement or license to use right away? I guess that would be kind of
For
an.
stairs and
You're right.
driveways? No.
Okay.
If I can comment on this, I mean, it looks bad because of the way they've done these improvements, but people are parking on the right-of-way and using the right-of-way and have stairs and stuff on the right-of-way all over town, It's not like when they go say, I'm gonna build a sidewalk, they go get a permit to build a sidewalk to go up to the house because it's crossing the right of way. And so what I'm saying, here it looks a little excessive because they've got some railroad ties and they've got some concrete poured and stuff, but they're just making a driveway to get across the right of way and some stairs to get across the right of way, which typically is not required to pull a permit on. And particularly if you did it back in the 60s when this house was built, they just were making a decent access to try to get to the houses, which crosses the right of way.
I'd have to disagree. We do have a driveway permit that has a $50 fee associated with it, and something like this would not be allowed to just float through if it was being constructed today. The conditions have existed, but it doesn't mean that they're right. And so that is public land. I mean, you can sit there and say it's village property because it's right away. It's not. It belongs to the public, and we serve the public, and that portion is, could be dedicated for drainage improvements. If we needed to widen Paradise Canyon, that's our only opportunity, is to go on that side of the road. So the fact that they've encroached into public land it's not a good use of public land.
I'm not hitting myself. These are bugs. Or I have fleas, something. All right, commissioners, what do you want to do? They have a very large staff recommendation. I hope you've all read it. We have the code here that says we shall hear the case and vote to recommend that the village council authorize a vacation and sell conditions, vote to recommend that the village council reject the vacation application.
So I have a question.
Go.
I mean, I actually own a piece of property that the village has a road that runs over my lot line, Should I have the village move their road?
So we would have a prescriptive easement through that, and if I were you, I would seek a surveyor to help you clean up that land because you're paying property taxes and a liability on a road that's cutting through your land.
And it's not much, but I'm just saying that, and I know of other situations in town where property is actually pinned in the road and right there on Sudreth, and
This opens up a large can of worms, and I've seen this condition exist throughout the county. Alpine Village Road is
Yeah.
probably the worst one that I've seen. And I'm not sure why this condition exists throughout town. I don't know if it's modern surveying techniques or the way things were platted before and have shifted. I don't know. I can't explain why this, why it's been in business for.
I don't see
I can't.
the issue, and because of the constraints of Paradise Canyon and cleaning it up as far as where the house is, I'm not in favor of, turning over that area where they excavated and put a garage that, where the railroad ties are. But the house itself, that's been there for, like you say, 40-plus years,
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
In that line of thinking, Sam, you mentioned that the village would want the entire property purchase, not just the suggested vacation of 780 square feet. Can you help us understand why that is, why you want the whole? Because to put it one way, it seems like you're saying it's all or nothing, but the all would be even more impactful than the nothing, if I'm making any sense right there.
Yes, so I would think that they should purchase that entire amount because they're encroaching into the right-of-way and using public land for their private use. And so I think they need to incorporate that full driveway, stairs into their own lot.
So would you say it's a correct assumption that it's more about proper use rather than having that space for future public land? Because buying that whole thing removes it from public consumption and usage in the future. if that's the priority of the village to keep that in public land and public good and public use, then what Mr. Sparks proposed, just doing part of it, would align with that, maximizing the public land. So is the priority to fix it, or is the priority to keep more land in public use?
My recommendation is that we don't proceed with a vacation.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sam, was there ever a permit pulled for this house to be built? Do we know that? Was there?
We didn't do research on the permit, if there was, do you know, Wyatt, if there was a building permit pulled?
What's that?
If there was a building permit pulled for the construction of the driveway, the stairs, and,
I think I sat down and figured if we try to take in all the stairs and the parking area and stuff, we would be in excess of 3,000 square feet. You know, you basically have a deal that's about 80 foot wide, and if you went out another 30 foot to pick that up, you know, or 35 foot to pick it up, you'd have in excess of 3,000 square feet. And I don't know, when you start talking about 3,000 square feet and you don't know an appraised amount, I don't know whether to tell the owner, you know, it's gonna cost you 15,000 or 30,000 to purchase. And then with the concerns about possible expansion or use of the road, I would have thought it would have been in benefit to minimize the amount that we're trying to get. And like I say, I thought another way would, you know, might be to seek an easement to encroach, and then the village ever needed to expand, they could. But like I say, with the terrain restrictions there, I think any expansion will take maybe a little on this side, but you still got another 30 foot on the south side that's flat and buildable. And I'm a little confused too. It's probably just a typo, but on the staff recommendations, the number, those items down there are pertaining to another application I had in here for a street vacation of Alamogordo, and so I'm a little bit foggy on what's being recommended.
Oh, I see that. So you're saying Fern Trail and
Yes,
all that?
Fern Trail and Alamogordo Street, and I think they just pulled up that deal and didn't get it modified, but I don't know exactly what the staff recommendations are because of that.
Sam, I
That's
guess I'll
true.
ask your clarification. So
that's true, we just worked off the last case study for a vacation. If it was approved, then the recommendation would be that it says Paradise Canyon and not Fern Trail. That's a typo.
everything else would be the same. Okay. Okay. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Point of clarification, this is just a recommendation to the council?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman
We
Briley?
can kick the can down.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Vicki.
I've looked at the topography of that area, and I think he's really quite correct as far as the utilization of that land. It would be nice to know what the cleanest way to do this is to achieve something for the property owner that's positive without adversely impacting the village. But it seems like he's correct. This situation is present all over Paradise Canyon as you go along. And the topography there is terrible to build into that hill. So I don't think we can ask them all to tear their houses down.
Yeah, and Commissioner, I don't think that's what we're asking. I know that they're trying to make it correct, and the village
Yes.
is trying to protect their right-of-way and their right to protect the taxpayers' properties and stuff like that. And I know that's what
Right.
the debate we're having here is because Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Probably both, for both. And so, this will be pretty interesting as we go forward with the discussion. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the follow-up on my question on the permit side of it all, if we knew there was a permit that the village did approve at one time, then it's not actually the landowner's fault at this point.
That's correct.
So maybe we should see if there was a permit pulled. And then we'll know. I mean, that could eliminate a lot of finger pointing.
Okay, so are we going to table this one? All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break, everybody. We'll be back in 5.
Take a nap.
I saw you put that back there.
All righty.